Having a short excursion booked is usually a good idea, but could you have a great time without anything booked and still enjoy the port of call? Today, I've got 7 ways to enjoy your time in port without booking anything in advance. Up next. Hey everyone, it's Matt from RollCaribbeanBlog.com. Most people will look to book a tour of some kind to go on while their cruise ship is in port, but you don't need an excursion to have an enjoyable day. Shore excursions are a really popular way to see the top tourist sites that any port has to offer, and I really think it's the right approach for knocking out these must-see places. However, there is sometimes a port of call on a cruise where, for one reason or another, you opt not to book anything. Perhaps it's because you've been there a few times already, or the weather doesn't look great, or you just need a break after port visits the previous couple days. Whatever the reason may be, there can be fun things to do in every port your cruise ship visits without a formal tour or plan. Now, depending on the port, there can be more options than others. In some ports, the cruise ship will dock directly in a city, whereas others, the cruise ship docks further away. Even the most rudimentary cruise ports usually have a few things worth doing, so I wanted to highlight suggestions for how to get off the ship and explore just a little bit without a plan. So here are my 7 ideas for how to have a fun day in port without booking anything else. Number 1, drink for cheap at a bar. If you skipped a Royal Caribbean drink package but want to enjoy tropical drinks, going to a bar in a port can save you a lot of money. In the Caribbean especially, drinks will cost you much less than on your cruise ship. Not only is each beer and cocktail likely cheaper, they're usually better specials and larger drink sizes. I have yet to find a port that a cruise ship visits without at least one bar somewhere near the port area. Most ports that cruise ships visit have a port area, which is like a secured enclosed area from the rest of the city or the island. In this area, there are all sorts of vendors and bars that are included. Some bars are just steps away from the security checkpoint to get back on the ship, which means there's no way you're missing the ship and minimal effort to go to and from the bar. Number 2, find free Wi-Fi. Whether you bought an internet package on your ship or you're just ready for real internet that doesn't take a minute to load that funny gift that your sister sent you, there's usually plenty of places in port offering Wi-Fi access. Just like the drink at the bar tip we just talked about, you can usually find complimentary Wi-Fi at many bars and shops in port. Some will require a password, which usually means buying something, but stopping for a drink, but stay for the Wi-Fi. A good idea is to ask a crew member on board the ship for places to go for free Wi-Fi, as the crew members regularly visit these ports and they're also interested in free Wi-Fi as well. Number 3, ask locals for a nearby beach. Depending on where you're visiting, there can be a beach you could walk to from where the ship docks. Now, this isn't possible in all ports, but sometimes there is a nearby beach, and it's a good idea to ask a local in the port for suggestions. Keep your expectations in line, though, because the closest beach may not be the most pristine stretch of sand and water you've ever seen, but hey, you didn't have to pay for a tour either. There are a few easily walkable beaches in select Caribbean ports. In Nassau, Junkanoo Beach, St. Martin, Great Bay Beach, and Cozumel, El Cid La Ceiba Hotel has beach access. Another easy port day plan is just go off the ship and have lunch. One of my favorite things to do in any port I visit is to feel like I got off the ship and did something, and that is usually to find a place for lunch. Just like the bars, there's usually a few restaurants in close proximity to where the cruise ship docks. In cities like San Juan, Puerto Rico, or Cozumel, there's far more choices than other ports you may visit. Most serve up enough variety for even the pickiest eaters. In fact, restaurants near the ships tend to offer more American food than authentic local cuisine, so don't worry too much about having to eat anything unusual. But if you're in the mood for authentic local cuisine, it would be a good idea to ask one of the vendors in the port for a suggestion. Be sure to bring cash, as credit cards are not usually accepted. Another fun thing to do in port without a plan is to listen to live music, because there's usually a musical act performing in port. It's been my experience that there are different musicians that perform in the port for cruise ship passengers as they come and go. Generally, you'll find most musical acts in the first few hours the ship docks, and then again before the ship leaves, because that's when foot traffic is going to be the highest and they might get some extra tips. Ideally, find a nearby bar you can sit at and enjoy the tunes. Be sure to bring some small change to tip the musician after enjoying their performance. Another idea that is not really my idea of a good time, but hey, maybe it's yours, and that is to go for a run. If you like to jog, maybe take a break from the cruise ship running track and go for a run in the port instead. It's a good idea to research in advance where you can safely run near the port. Not all ports may have an area you can start running. Many places that cruise ships visit are industrial ports or simply not an ideal part of town to be doing that, but a little bit of research ahead of time could really help you out. If nothing else, a short taxi ride could get you to a park, boardwalk, or a good starting point. And if you're looking to get some exercise in, boy, this could be a really easy way to explore the port, get off the ship, but not having to book a tour or anything crazy beyond that. My last tip for a great time in port without a shore excursion is to just go to a supermarket. One of my favorite DIY shore excursions is to go to a local supermarket and browse what they have. This is a really fun excursion to do in a different country because it provides a lot of insight into the destination. You can browse the aisles and see what's for sale, who's shopping, how much things cost, and how to buy things. What's the most popular snack food there? How are things packaged? You may learn a lot by lurking in the supermarket, and on top of that, you might also save some money on some souvenirs. In fact, a lot of times supermarkets may have obviously things you can bring back as gifts, and also foods and beverages that are not marked up because they're meant for the locals, and oftentimes you can find a really good deal in one of these supermarkets. By the way, speaking of supermarkets, if you do want to bring food back on the cruise ship, you can. Just make sure they're not fruit, vegetables, flowers, or plants. If it's prepackaged, if it's a souvenir, obviously, totally fine there. I've always brought back like chips from Cozumel, Mexico, because I love authentic Mexican chips that you just can't get here in the US for whatever reason. So if it's packaged, totally fine, but you want to make sure you're not bringing back anything that your home country, like the United States, will not allow. And that's usually fruit, vegetables, flowers, plants, seeds of that nature. So there's my list of the 7 ways to have a great time in port without a cruise ship shore excursion. The good news is in a lot of places, especially in the Caribbean, there's a lot of variety for you and just enough to keep you busy for at least a couple hours, then get back on board the ship. The good news is if you need a break or you've been to this port before, you just want to do something different, there's always a good idea just to simply walk off the ship, see what's around, and then maybe walk back on. Whether you go off the ship for an hour or a couple hours, there's usually something you can do low cost without planning anything else in advance. But if you are looking to do like the big thing, such as a historical site, one of the best beaches in the world, or anything else that's kind of destination driven, you definitely want to book a shore excursion. But if you're just looking for something easy and casual, for whatever the reason may be, well, then hopefully these tips will help you out there. Let me know in the comments below, what are your top ways to enjoy time in port without really spending any money or booking any tours in advance? I'd love to hear your thoughts and suggestions as well. If you like this video, if you found it helpful, hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and turn on notifications. That way, YouTube lets you know we have a brand new video to share. This has been Matt from RoyalCaribbeanBlog.com. We'll talk again real soon.